How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Weather Sponge 1000, and in this video, we're going to focus on the Atlantic hurricane season, more specifically, these two tropical storms. Now we have Tropical Storm Danielle and Tropical Storm Earl, which are both likely to become hurricanes in the very near future. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more or like comment. So here is Tropical Storm Danielle just to the north and east of Puerto Rico at this time, and it is bringing some isolated thunder showers around the area. So if you're around the Puerto Rico area and the islands just to the east of it, you need to watch out for some heavier thunderstorms associated with Tropical Storm Earl at this time. And we see that Tropical Storm Earl currently has maximum sustained winds around 50 miles per hour, central millibar pressure down to 999 millibars, and it's moving west-northwest at around 10 miles per hour, which is around an average speed for a tropical cyclone in the Atlantic. And if we were to take a look at Tropical Storm Danielle, we see that it's pretty much a borderline a hurricane at this time, with winds of 70 miles per hour and central millibar pressure down to 990 millibars, but it's moving very slowly at 6 miles per hour at this time. Now, if I were to show you guys first the water vapor imagery for Tropical Storm Earl, we do see that there is a little bit of a blow up of thunderstorm activity right around the center of circulation. We are seeing the clouds drift to the northwest, to the northeast, just to the north of it. This is as a result of an upper level low that exists just to the north of it that's bringing a decent amount of wind shear, which means that it's not going to strengthen very fast, and it's going to struggle a little bit initially before it could really get to that stage where it'll have an open opportunity to strengthen. But for now, it seems like it's going to strengthen very slowly as it continues its move on northwestward and then eventually northeastward. So we likely won't see a hurricane in the very near future, but it certainly is definitely more likely in the more long-term future, closer to the midweek of next week. So that's going to be something to keep in mind. And just keep in mind of some thunder showers and gusty winds right around these islands, since of course Tropical Storm Earl is very close to you guys, at least the center circulation of it. And if we were to take a look at the forecast, at what the computer models are stating when it comes to the track of Tropical Storm Earl, we do see that both of the main computer models, the good news is that they want to steer this to the northeast, which means that it's going to steer away from the east coast of the United States, which was a little bit of a worry a couple of days ago when the forecast was a little bit more uncertain that it could make its trek all the way on westward to the east coast. But it seems it's pretty much inevitable at this point that it's going to move out to sea, which is certainly good news. And there was some concern that this would directly impact Bermuda, but as of right now, it seems like both of the main computer models are expecting that this storm should move just to the east enough where Bermuda should avoid any direct impacts. However, I want to emphasize that there still could be a high rip current risk this week along the east coast, so that's something to keep in mind. Of course, now since we're approaching the September, of course, there's a lot less beachgoers, but for the couple of beachgoers who still go to the beach this month and especially into next weekend, you need to watch out right along the coast, because there could be a high rip current risk associated with not only Hurricane Earl, which would be Hurricane Earl at this time, but the potentially Tropical Storm or Hurricane Danielle. Although these two storms are hundreds of miles away, they still could bring those that heavy surf all the way to the east coast, where it could pose a high rip current risk. So make sure to stay out of the water if you're advised to do so along the coast, because it could save your life, and it's one of the most avoidable causes of weather-related deaths in the United States. So make sure to just stay out the water if there's a high rip current risk, which is certainly possible by next weekend with these two tropical disturbances. But this is expected to move eastward, but we do see that this storm strengthens quite a bit down to 950 millibars in the very long-term future. This, at this point, would be a major hurricane, easily right around potentially category 3 or category 4 status. So wind field will get a little bit larger as this moves northward. It will become a little bit its strength will be somewhat influenced by baroclinic influences by this time. So we should see the wind field expand a little bit. So the waves as well should, or at least the area where the waves are strong should expand as well. So that's going to be something to keep in mind. But And we see that for now, it's going to struggle initially thanks to stronger wind shear it's dealing with before the wind shear becomes light enough for this to have an open opportunity to develop. The sea surf temperatures are more than warm enough to support this development. And of course, we're going to see some barrel-clink influences help strengthen it just a bit. So that's going to be something to keep in mind, that this hurricane could be strong enough to bring a high wave threat for the East Coast. So that's pretty much the only thing you need to worry about along the East Coast when it comes to impacts, because thankfully it should move out to sea, which is certainly good news. Now, taking a look at the current forecasted path by the National Hurricane Center, and we do see the National Hurricane Center expects this to remain tropical storm status over the next few days before eventually strengthening to hurricane status once the wind shear begins to die down as it heads further northward. And again, it should move just to the east of Bermuda and the east coast of the United States, which is certainly good news. So, but just make sure to be prepared for the threat of a high rip current risk along the east coast. So make sure to prepare for that. Now, moving on to Tropical Storm Danielle, which is borderline a hurricane at this time, we do see that there's a well-defined area of rotation around the center of circulation, but we do see a lot of dry air in training the center of circulation at this time, and as of right now, the eye is over an area where the sea surface temperatures are just warm enough to support for enough convection and to create a small center of circulation for this to maintain its strength without baroclinic influences strengthening it. So this is considered a fully tropical storm, but this will inevitably become extra tropical as this continues to move all northeastward, but its strength will still be there. So this could be a concern in the future for, let's say, the United Kingdom, where you could receive some impacts by the remnants of Tropical Storm Danielle, and it is expected to strengthen into a hurricane. We do see that the wind shear isn't necessarily very strong. We don't see the clouds drifting far away from the center of circulation, and we do see a little bit of an outflow on the northern side, and there isn't a lot of dry air as well that's really inhibiting the convection around center circulation. So that as a result, this is expected to strengthen into a hurricane and will eventually get steered to the northeast as a result of an incoming trough, and it could potentially bring impacts to the United Kingdom, and of course bring higher waves along the east coast of not only the United States but the eastern portion of Canada as well. Taking a look at what the European model is forecasting when it comes to Tropical Storm Danielle, the European model expects this storm to strengthen down to 980 millibars and strengthens it even more as it heads further northeastward before eventually weakening it. And we do see the European model at this time would want to dissolve this storm and pretty much bring it ashore somewhere in Spain. But it's a different story when we take a look at the GFS model, where we do see the storm's a lot stronger with its millibar pressure dropping down to the 960s, which would be equivalent to a category 3 at that time. And you see this comes ashore right around the United Kingdom, and it's around 990 millibars, which isn't intensely strong, but still could bring some rain and gusty winds right around London, and as well as France could get involved a little bit. So it's at least something to be aware of along the coast of the United Kingdom, but we shouldn't see any direct impacts at all right around the United States and Eastern Canada. Like I said, the main concern should be a rip current. So if you're advised to stay out the water for this week or this coming weekend, then it's best to do so, because it could easily save your life, and it's typically difficult to see where rip currents develop. So it's best to just stay out of the water when there's a high rip current risk, and this could be a possibility as Tropical Storm Earl and Danielle move northeastward into this week and into this coming weekend as well. So make sure to pay close attention to that. But outside of Tropical Storm Danielle, is there any other possibilities we could see our next tropical storm, potentially Tropical Storm Fiona? Well, there was some speculation that this low pressure system may have had a chance of developing, but it seems like there's going to be a little bit too much stability right around the main development region for this to have much of a shot, because we do see quite a bit of dry air that's going to be just to the west of it, and we do see that this area of moisture sort of dissolves in the main development region and doesn't really develop into much of anything. So the dry air for this hurricane season has really been inhibiting a lot of tropical cyclones from developing, which is certainly good news. And hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the hurricane season. But going beyond the 120-hour mark, we do see several tropical waves coming off the African coast, but we still see that dry air is suppressing any tropical activity from occurring right around the main development region, which is certainly good news. So as of right now, for the foreseeable future, outside of Tropical Storm Earl and Danielle, we're seeing it does seem like Tropical Storm Fiona will have much of any shot as of right now of developing based on the current factors, which is certainly good news, and hopefully it stays that way. But we still could see this hurricane season become active out nowhere, so don't underestimate this hurricane season just yet, because we still have a lot of September and October and even November to go before we could definitively say this hurricane season will be over for the most part. Now, here's the projected path for Tropical Storm Danielle. We do see that the National Hurricane Center expects this to strengthen into a hurricane, eventually weakening into a tropical storm. But by this point, it should be post-tropical, so it won't really be considered a tropical storm or hurricane at this time. But it still will pack strong winds and a large wind field with it. So it's definitely something to keep in mind in some countries in Europe, because that could bring some impacts when it comes to rain and gusty winds. So make sure to pay close attention to that. But yeah, guys, I guess that's, oh, and let me show you guys wave heights for this coming week. We're going to see that the wave heights for the East Coast will certainly be much higher, where we do see that as Hurricane Earl continues to move northeastward, we do see the wave heights along the coast definitely increase, and by this weekend it should be the worst, which is definitely concerning, because that's of course when most people head to the beach. But we do see the wave heights definitely increase right around the East Coast as a result of Tropical Storm Earl, and even some influence by Tropical Storm Danielle. So you certainly need to pay close attention to the waves this coming week, because they certainly could be life-threatening at times when it comes to the rip current risk. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content, and I hope you guys have a great day.